Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Perfect Dose Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Kristen Herzog, board-certified nurse practitioner and injection specialist. On today's episode, I am so excited. I have brought on a guest. Her name is Annie Bruno. She is one of my injector besties. And in the world of injecting, you need to have a community. You need friends. You need injector besties. So I am so excited to bring her on the show today. Today, we are going to break down trainings that you need to be an injector. We're going to talk about common misconceptions surrounding the world of aesthetics. We are going to talk about our favorite products, favorite areas to treat. I am going to ask Annie questions about her unique injecting journey. We're also going to talk about advice for new injectors, how to build a clientele. So let's get into it. Annie Bruno, she owns Skin Charm in Scottsdale, Arizona. I will link her Instagram for you guys here so you can all give her a follow. She is CAN certified, and that means she is a certified aesthetic nurse specialist. So that is an amazing credential that you can look for when looking for an injector. She owns her own practice called Skin Charm, and she is also a trainer for Allergan. So Annie, welcome to the show.
Friend.
Cheers.
So
for everyone listening, we are having champagne while we film because why not?
Life, multitask, have some fun.
Okay, Annie, so I would love for you to just share your story. How did you get into injecting?
So it's been a long kind of journey actually for me. I started, I went to ASU. I was a Sun Devil, so go Devils, for marketing. And I wanted at the time, I thought, to sell something that I was really interested in. I'm obsessed with the beauty industry. I have been washing my face since like 4th grade. Literally, I'm
That's amazing.
And so after going through the schooling, I decided I want to sell something that I love. I loved skincare. I loved beauty. So I went and got my aesthetics license first and became an esthetician.
Okay.
I then started working for a couple of different companies, some skincare companies, and then also an injectable company, which then led me to my true passion, which is injecting. So after selling injectables, I realized, okay, no, I need to get back behind the chair and I want to actually be an injector. So I went back to nursing school when I was 30. And then at that time, I landed a internship with a double board certified facial plastic surgeon. And with that kind of kicked off my career. So it's been a few steps to get here, but
Okay, can we just go back a little bit and talk about how you feel being a esthetician first, a licensed esthetician, prior to going to nursing school helped you as an injector? Because I think that's so important to highlight, especially as this industry becomes more popular, more saturated, and everybody thinks it's so fun and amazing.
Yes.
People go to school to be an injector. They don't have any experience. And I feel like there's two routes you can take, either being a nurse first, learning how to practice independently before becoming an injector, or the path that you took, which was you had so much experience with plastics and skincare. I want you to share with the audience about how that impacted you.
Yeah, I think, having my baseline foundation of aesthetics and also, facial plastic surgeries and those patients and how they're recovering, I wanted to be a true resource and expert of what I was doing before I leaped into a field of just taking patients on, right? So I felt like, I probably worked longer than most people would in my role that I was previously in, because I felt the responsibility of that was so much to make sure that not only, for my patients that would be following me, but for new patients and then future teammates. I was hoping to be a business owner and a leader. And so to be able to do that, I felt like it was so important to not, jump before you're ready, because this industry is so fun. It's so exciting. We're obsessed with it, but it's not easy, right? So it's fun. It's amazing. And I would not want to be doing anything else, but I do think that there needs to be kind of like a reality check on how much work and effort that we have put into ourselves to get to where we're at.
100%. I think this is something I always talk about. People see success and they're like, she made it. I want to be her. Look how easy her life is. They don't see the behind the scenes. They don't see the sweat, the tears, like how hard it actually was, the journey getting there. So it is not overnight. It was years. How many years did you say that you were esthetician and then intern?
I became an esthetician in 2009. So, and then I worked, I went back to nursing school and I shadowed with that facial plastic surgeon for 2 years while I was in school. unpaid, which I realized not everybody is able to do that, but I had money that I had saved from my previous job. I invested that into myself, and then I started with him in 2015 officially as a nurse, and then worked there until 2019. But yeah, I was with him in total for like almost 7 years.
Yeah. See, and that is amazing. That is so much experience that you brought and allowed you to start your business because you had this experience. It wasn't like you were learning how to get in this industry and then become a business person and an injector. You had already been in this industry and knew that prior.
Yep.
That's amazing. And when did you start Skin Charm?
So Skin Charm, we opened in 2019.
Okay. Yeah. Right. So it was like a year before I started Perfect Dose.
Yes.
I started Perfect Dose in 2020. How was it with COVID? Can you just share your experience?
It's so wild, like thinking back. I mean, we opened in October of 2019, which, as we know, was about 6 months before the pandemic. So I think what happened with the aesthetics industry was unexpected. I mean, when COVID kicked off, we were all panicking. You know, how long are we going to be out? Like, how long are we not going to be able to see patients? What is going to happen? Are people even going to want these procedures? But thanks to, I think self-care and just that need for not only connection and connecting with someone else, the need for taking care of yourself, and then also the Zoom calls. The amount of times I literally heard that a patient saw themselves on Zoom. I mean, I feel like I need to send them a thank you note. Truly, like the aesthetic industry, I think it exploded by 300% during COVID.
100%.
But what a wild ride.
Zoom changed everything for us, right? I think the most important thing with that is, so I started my business in March 2020, and it was literally crazy because I signed a lease, and then all of a sudden we were on a toilet paper shortage, and I'm like, what is happening? But if you wanted to be successful, if you are determined, we were willing to do anything and everything to make that work. We had every opportunity to just quit.
Absolutely.
And we didn't.
No.
And the booming wasn't in 2020. It was 2021. So we had a year of just grind
and hustle and figuring it out. And truly, we closed down with elective procedures, all aesthetics things. With all aesthetics procedures, we had to close with elective surgeries. So it was basically from March 17th, I think it was like St. Patrick's Day, till like the first week of May, that we were not able to see patients. So, and also like not able to buy a lot of our supplies. And you want to talk about hustle. Like we pivoted. I had one other employee at the time, and we started literally doing car drop-offs, skincare consults. What can we do to be a resource for patients? So we were making videos every day. We were making content every day. We actually got the #1 sales for Skin Medica in March, and that literally helped me float and pay my bills. So
okay, I freaking love that. And it's so funny when you want to be successful and you are obsessed with what you do, you make it happen. Because I actually did the same thing. I was driving skincare to all of my patients' houses. Yes. I was posting on Instagram. I was I think I learned how to like try to do a makeup tutorial.
Exactly.
I don't even know what it takes. But we did everything that it takes. And I think that is so, so important. So kind of starting from there, you opened Skin Charm, you became a nurse injector, but what were your trainings like? I think this is important for injectors listening. They think they can go out and get certified, which you need to get certified. That is a necessity, but it doesn't stop there. Can you just walk us through your training journey?
Yeah, I think, like you said, there is the requirement of taking a training, but in Arizona, and state to state is so different. So in Arizona, I think it's like a 4-hour course. You technically, I don't even think you even have to take it, but most people do take it. There's not really a lot of regulation as far as, what the requirements are. And then anybody can kind of open up and do their own injectable things. So it's scary a little bit, right? But alternatively, there's so much amazing information and trainings that are available. So the people that do invest in themselves, I mean, you can tell in the work. And yes, I think like this is just a constant thing where we're going to constantly be needing to evolve, grow, go to trainings, collaborate, as you mentioned, with our community of injectors. Best practices change, and practicing medicine is practicing medicine, and things change. So
100%.
It's so important to stay on top of that.
I think that's huge because this is aesthetic medicine. Botox and fillers are a medicine. So as nurses, nurse practitioners, PAs, MDs, we can go deliver this medication. But it is our job to not just go and do something without proper training, we are to do no harm. And
Correct.
to do no harm, I think it's so important to make sure that you understand that you are dealing with people's faces.
Yes.
People can go blind from filler.
They can die. Like,
yes,
and it's not to scare you, but it's, it's important to know that I think it becomes a blurry area because patients are cash paying and these things are elective, that sometimes the reverse role of who is the decision maker, can get a little bit out of balance sometimes. And so if you are a patient and you're aligning yourself with an injector, like, I think it really is important to ask about their training, to look at before and after photos, to listen to their advice if they're telling you, if they are certified in a credential or a credible resource, but just listening and partnering with the right people, because you can really mess yourself up.
Yes.
Quickly.
And patients, you guys can ask questions. I say this to patients all the time. I don't think that saying, oh, how long have you been an injector is super valid, because there's injectors that have been injecting for 10 years that
Absolutely.
never continue their education.
Absolutely.
I think it's important to say, what types of education are you participating in? How often are you participating in continuing education? Asking for those before and after photos. You actually have the right as a patient to ask for your lot number, and you can literally call the company and find out if you were actually given Botox.
Yes.
And that is so important. So I think there's two parts to this that I want to dive into. It's one, patients need to be responsible and ask the right questions. Go to trusted providers.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
I always say, like, I love when my patients come to me from other providers that I know, because I'm like, amazing, you got great work.
I know how they inject.
Right?
Yeah.
We love that.
I know that they're ethical.
Yes. And that's the most important thing. But I think, to your point, both of us as business owners, I would love to you just elaborate. Do you think that it's smart for somebody that gets certified in Botox to just open their own business?
I don't. And here's why. I think that even if you are so educated, you haven't had the real life experience of having those conversations and knowing the key pearls and foundations of an assessment, an appropriate assessment, and what to really even look for, because you haven't had the life experience of seeing it in real time. So yeah, I think if you can, it just depends on how many trainings, I suppose, that you are able to invest in. But I think part of that is just time.
Yeah, it's time. And there's two paths, and I think both of us took a little bit of a unique path. So I'd love to share that. Like, I opened my own business, but I didn't just open my own business. I spent $30,000 my first year. I trained for an entire year before I ever touched a patient's face.
Correct.
So it was so difficult, and not everybody can do that, right?
Nope.
But I knew, I'm like, this is my vision, this is my journey, and I did that.
And that is so different than taking a 4-hour course and opening a salon suite. And
Absolutely.
it's not to knock or, to discredit anybody, but there's just a level of investment that you placed in yourself, which, like you said, our paths were different. Like, mine was shadowing with a facial plastic, and yours, you were doing hands-on training for over a year. And that's the biggest piece of advice I always tell people when they're investing in a course for training is, if you don't have a place to go practice your skill set immediately afterward, you probably shouldn't be doing it, because you're going to forget everything, and that's okay. Well, how would you practice? How would you remember it?
100%. And it's something that you have to know. You're not going to make money right away. People think that you make a ton of money as an injector, and how many years did it take before you made money?
Years. I mean, years, literally years. And you still, as a business owner, you spend money on things that don't always end up working out, and that's okay. But that's part of it.
Yeah. How much every year do you spend just investing in your own education?
I think it varies year to year, but probably on average between 10 and 15,000. And that does not include, the offsite roundtable discussions I have with you and with our other, trusted injectors in the industry, or the national trainings we go to for Allergan, usually 2 or 3 times a year. So it's constant. Yeah. What about you?
I mean, same. I think it's always 10,000. It's different every single year. This year, I spent a ton of money, and this was the most money I've spent on my training since I first started. But I invested in an ultrasound in my practice. I invested in a body scanner, and then I did several trainings. So I think I'm like around 35,000 at this point. And
there you go.
I just signed up for 2 more trainings in the fall. So
right, I know.
some years are more than others, but
Absolutely.
I think a minimum of $10,000 annual investment.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
So I do want to talk about this too as business owners, right? Because I think a lot of people listening to may think, okay, well, I spent $800 on my filler. We did not make $800.
No, we did not.
So can we talk about a few of the like big costs as an employer that you are taking on?
Yes. I think honestly, to piggyback off of your previous question a little bit, because you mentioned how, people are sometimes looking for an injector based upon price, and these products are really expensive for us to buy. So if you are seeing a deal that seems like it's too good to be true, this is just one thing I want to like drop in before we kind of move into this. But if you're seeing something that's too good to be true and it's not in line with, market pricing, like that's probably a red flag. And yes, you do have the right to ask to see lot codes and where is this product coming from? Because on average, a brand new injector is going to be buying their Botox for at least probably $7 a unit. And that's not including staff, supplies, syringes, needles, all the things. So to get it close to that in price, like it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. And I think I want to touch on that too, because to your point, so we're thinking $7 a unit. That's just the product. That doesn't count our alcohol swabs, our insulin syringes. How do we keep the lights on? What about all of our payment processing systems, staff, the lights, electricity,
insurance, medical director?
Yes.
Yeah.
So right away, if you are getting Botox, I would say for less than 13 per unit, I don't physically understand.
I don't either.
Because there's just no way. And then paying your providers too, right? Because we have to also pay our providers that are doing these things, not just us.
Right.
So there's a lot that goes into it. What about trainings? Because not only are you investing in these products, and that's expensive as a business owner, and we talked about staffing and EMR systems, insurance, like there's a ton of behind the scenes
marketing, like
laser,
it goes on and on, laser payments,
and training for your staff. Like, can we talk about that? Because the value of training under somebody, I don't think is talked about enough.
I agree with that. I have spent probably hundreds of thousands of dollars investing into team. And that's, sometimes that you win with that and sometimes you don't. But yeah, these products are not cheap to buy. So, and we're sharing the knowledge that we have invested in ourselves to go learn. Right. So
it's like invaluable. And I think that's something to consider too. It's our time that we invest in trainings and then teaching our staff and our team. It's a lot of our time. It's a lot of sacrifice.
It's a lot of time.
Yes. And it does have a big value because do you offer shadowing in your practice?
I do. Okay. But yeah, go ahead.
So how much do you charge to shadow?
So usually like $2,500.
Okay.
Yeah.
So same. So imagine this for everybody listening. If you're an injector right now, $2,500 a day and you're training under someone every single day.
Every day.
That's like $500,000 worth of trainings annually.
Correct.
Just by learning from an experienced, trained injector.
Yes. And it's not just, the anatomy and injection techniques. It's bedside and assessment and all of the things that go into building long-term care plans. And I think that that's really important too.
Yeah. So important. Okay. So let's talk about how to build a clientele, because this is very important. Not only there's so many things into being an injector, like we have to be trained. We also have to understand facial anatomy. We have to understand assessment. We have to understand product rheology. And for everybody listening that doesn't know rheology, that means how the gel is made up, because filler is not a one size fit all. And if you put the wrong product into someone's face, it's going to look terrible.
In the wrong area, things can go very bad.
Yes.
Very, very quickly.
Then there's also complication management, right? We have to understand how to assess complications, to manage those. So all of these things that we do as aesthetic providers, but then there's this other piece to being an injector that I think makes it that much harder. It's like, not only are we practicing medicine and learning all of those things, but then we have to learn how to build a clientele, because we have to get people to come in our door, and then not only come in our door, but stay
there. Right.
Yeah. So how have you built your clientele? What does that look like for you?
I think, it's just relationship building and like long-term care plans being super comprehensive and, knowing that this is a partnership and it doesn't all have to be done in one day. I think being a resource for people and doing that really thorough consultation is so, so important. Of course, having the best techniques and having the best assessment types and knowing which product to choose and keeping people safe and being on time and all of those things are really, really, really important. But like for me, I think, I built my business around, it's skin charm. So I am obsessed with Southern charm and Southern hospitality. And it was really important for me for that to be woven throughout like what we do. And I think, it's not always what is said, but it's how it makes people feel. So I really try to like weave through the experience, just that little something extra, those personal touches go a really long way for making people feel like they're a part of something and like they're a part of your practice and it's a place that they belong and that they want to be.
I love that. And I think that's so true. And that's what makes every injector unique. Like you can't just go out and copy somebody's brand because it's not going to be authentic.
The same, right.
Yeah. And patients like can go to me and you. They're going to get completely different experiences. Totally. And I always say not experiences differing in their treatment because you and I are both highly trained. I'm very confident. Like anyone that gets injected by you and me, they're doing great. But just their vibe. Our vibes are different.
Yeah.
So we're not competition because patients will vibe with you and they will vibe with me.
Absolutely.
That's what makes this industry so unique.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely. And I think like, just like you said, staying authentic to who you are and what you like and what your aesthetic is, because there's a look and style that every patient likes. And, there's literally every single person in the world is getting older. So there's more than enough patients to go around.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to have a scarcity mindset.
Don't you think too that for patients listening, I think that's something that is very important when you're finding an injector and you have to match their vibe, right? You want to understand like who they are. Do you get along? It's like you're kind of dating, right?
Yeah.
It's fun.
Right.
But one of the things I tell my patients is like, if you don't like the way your injector looks, don't be injected by them.
Hit the road, Jack.
Because don't you feel like you inject based on how you are, right? It's like your authenticity.
Right. Totally. And there's injectors in the Valley that, are great injectors, but maybe they prefer proportions of lips that are larger than maybe what I prefer. Again, nothing wrong with that. Like as long as it's safe and the tissue's not compromised, like a patient might just align with that and think that's my injector.
Yes.
Right. Whereas somebody else might think that's too big for me. I'd rather do something else.
100%. And I think that's very important, not only understanding your provider's experience, credentials, before and afters, but like, what is their aesthetic? What do they love? What is beauty to them? Because beauty is defined by so many different things. It's so unique to the individual.
Absolutely.
So with building a clientele and building those relationships, I love what you said because that is, we got into this because we love people.
Yes.
And I want to make people feel good.
Yeah, totally.
Talk about Instagram, social media. What do you love? What do you hate?
I think, Instagram, I have like such a love-hate with it. Like just like probably everybody, right? I think that, so when I started nursing school and I was an intern at a plastics office, I literally started my Instagram at that time. I would review literally anything to do with skincare products, eyeliner. I'd be sitting in a room making videos. Like it's honestly so cringe and like hilarious now. However, it helped to build my following. And like, I think you just need to keep at the forefront of your mind if you are using Instagram, like just be a resource for patients and be real. And that's what they want from you. I think that's like the ethical way to use social media. But yeah, it's, I think for patients, like just to be able to navigate like some of the smoke and mirrors, like there is a lot of fear mongering. There's a lot of manipulation as far as before and after photos go. So you want to look for before and afters that have consistent lighting, consistent angles, descriptions of potentially what's happening. And again, even if it's not in their Instagram, if you go in and see them in office, they should be able to show you before and afters too.
Yes.
And explain to you, what procedures were done. But I think it could be so fun too. Like, I think that's another thing that has helped to build my clientele is Instagram.
Yeah. I love Instagram. And I would love for you to share with the audience what has been the best way you've built your clientele. Has it been social media? Has it been word of mouth? Is there a marketing agency that you're using? What is like the number one thing you feel like has been?